Yeah, this is the same setup as that Maxima I drove across the country. 439 miles.
For Miles was born in the studio at
Hold on.
spring of '67.
This is like a luxury vehicle. This is for rich people, Esther. Going to the crazy hospital.
Yeah.
I probably need it. Taking away the moments to make up a dull day. My woman from Tokyo, she's so good to me. You don't know what we can see. So I called up the captain. Please bring me my wine. Woke up to the Hotel California. I'm just cruising around this neighborhood in New Bern with these mansions in it. You know, if I had this much money, personally, I wouldn't want to live in a subdivision. Like, they got this huge house, but you got no property. So, I mean, what in the hell, you just stay in your house. I guess that's the normal thing these days with, you know, the social distancing and the quarantine and the isolation. So I guess these people are set up pretty good with their huge ass houses. Here at the Nissan dealership in New Bern, where Esther got this brand new Sentra. I told her she should have got the 370. That's the heat right there. She wanted a sunroof, and the 370 doesn't have a sunroof. The Sentra does. It's a badass Sentra though. Benny, 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 Benny in the chest. I guess you can drive your car now. What'd you get? You got schmutz on my seat here? Yes, I did. Schmutz? Did you know that's what we pay tax dollars for? So the police force can just drive around and sit. Take it easy. I mean, yeah, sure, they're important to fight crime and all that, but most of the time they spend just sitting around doing nothing. I know when I try to sit around and do nothing when I was working, the bosses tended not to like that. So you know, I pay the police, so I'm technically their boss, right? So, because they're sitting around doing nothing, I ought to be able to chew them out and tell them, hey, get to work. Don't get me wrong, I don't want people to think I'm one of those defund the police kooks, because that's just crazy. But I do think they probably should be doing a little more to protect and serve, rather than just sit around on side streets and in parking lots and abandoned buildings and whatnot, you know, just kind of away from anything where people are doing anything, so they don't really have to arrest anybody or do any police work or any of that stuff, because it's a lot nicer just to sit in your car and play on your computer. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know. Have you ever seen the rain coming down Sunday? Yeah! How fast are you going? 65 and then 60? They're going about 80. So I was watching this documentary last night called Plandemic, and it's basically put on by Ben Swan. So this documentary said something about how this whole pandemic thing with COVID-19 is a plan that's been in the works since I think the CDC got a patent on the coronavirus in 2003. So if the coronavirus was naturally occurring, you couldn't get a patent on it. And at the same time, if they got a patent on it, well, they're saying that they've biologically created this pathogen and exposed it to all of us. A patent on the creation of the vaccination for it, and it's all a bunch of big money. And something that really points to the fact that it's all about big money is the fact that Bill Gates is on the media talking about vaccinations and talking about the coronavirus. And Bill Gates has been saying all kinds of stuff about the coronavirus. And, you know, all I really know about Bill Gates is he was one of the richest men in the world. So if he's just trying to be a good guy, I mean, that's great. You know, he's got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that he created when he was under questioning by the Senate for his dealings with Microsoft and how they defrauded people and they coerced people to believe certain things. So it just doesn't make sense for him to be working with... He's not a doctor. He's not Dr. Bill Gates. You know, he's not a scientist in that field. He dropped out of college. Just to mention, you know, he didn't ever get any college degree unless they were gifted to him when he got rich. Like, you know how they give those people honorary degrees and shit? Yeah, he probably would have got some of those, but he dropped out of college to form Microsoft and Windows, and he sold Windows to IBM, which was really just an operating system that was stolen from another company that he just did some modifications to and changes and made it his own. So Bill Gates never really invented anything. He's just the biggest and best con man of our time. And he had enough money to fund his con. Kind of like John D. Rockefeller. I don't know if you know about Rockefeller, but like back in the 30s and 40s and stuff, he he wasn't a doctor either, but he helped people get into medical school, but he made it so they could only study the curriculum that he decided. So when that happened, John D. Rockefeller, Mr. Rockefeller, was into big oil a lot, and they started creating drugs that came from petroleum products. And with his new ideas about how medicine should be, they threw out all the old, you know, all the old medicine, like, you know, herbal remedies and things that come from the earth that can help to cure people and make people live well. All that was discarded.
That's why I said hocus pocus, and I was like,
yeah, but they made it so everybody thought it was hocus pocus, and so everybody would fall into believing that these pharmaceutical drugs that make millions and billions and trillions of dollars now are the only way that you can fix your ailments. John D. Rockefeller changed the whole medical industry, and he's not even a doctor. And that was like 70, 80 years ago. Today we're falling victim to the same exact thing with Bill Gates and others like him that are invested in these companies that scare the shit out of the public and then tell them that we need a vaccination and it's the only way to help us. I would say that, you know, maybe the populace just needs to be exposed to this strain, and then they'll be more resilient to it because their antibodies will naturally build up rather than having some pharmaceutical injection that could, I mean, you know, some of some of these vaccinations lead to like seizures and to paralysis. Pharmaceutical companies have written it into law that they're not responsible for anybody's liability based on something that happened to them because it was caused by taking a vaccination. That documentary, Plandemic, can be found on ise.media. They put out a sequel to it as well called Plandemic Indoctrination, and the Indoctrination sequel went up last night, and both can be found on ise.media. You won't really be able to find them anywhere else because it's being censored. Strange that the media would be censored. I think it's like in the Constitution, it's like the First Amendment right, like freedom of speech, freedom of press as well. But YouTube and Facebook and, you know, just about everybody that's a major media, like if you Google this Plandemic thing, they'll have all this stuff about how, you know, it's conspiracy theorists. But, you know, the thing is that they, on this documentary, they link all these things together, and they show how all these major players are linked together in funding and support. And if they show in the media that's generally accepted by the public the same statements over and over again, they begin to convince the public that they must be telling the truth. That's why there's no dissent of opinion on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, any of those major networks. There's no dissenting opinion. They all say the same thing. If they're all saying the same thing, well, it must be true. There's no cross-referencing. There's no actual media. I'll put the link in the description, ise.media, where you can go and watch these videos, tell the truth about things that are going on in the world. Another thing to watch if you have an open mind is Ron Paul's Liberty Report. I don't know if anybody remembers Ron Paul, but Ron Paul was, you know, always in the Congress trying to fight for our liberty, our life, our pursuit of happiness, you know, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all that stuff. Well, he's still talking about that stuff. He does it on his YouTube channel, the Ron Paul Liberty Report. I'll also tag that in the description. I missed that one. Bus driver with her mask pulled down underneath her chin.
Oh.
I got one on my last video that she wasn't wearing one at all. I think that's interesting. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the whole mask thing is bullshit. I think it's just another control device on the populace. But I can't work as an essential worker without a mask. So how come you got school bus drivers not wearing a mask or wearing underneath their chin? It's like, you hypocrites out here, dude. I just don't know. Also, I mean, Donald Trump always talking about this fake news thing. But when it came to the coronavirus, you didn't hear him say anything about fake news. It seems strange to me. I mean, everything else is fake news. But when it comes to the Plandemic, I mean, pandemic, it's not fake news then. It's all truth. And we got to pass a $2 trillion bill and give everybody some Trump change. And wait, also, we're giving corporations like, you know, the airlines, spoke about those before. Airlines got $50 billion in federal funding. Private companies get my tax dollars. I mean, I don't produce that much in tax dollars, not that much. But I don't think it should go to the airlines. I mean, the airlines make millions and millions of dollars a year, and then they get my tax dollars too. That doesn't really make sense. But I can tell you why it is. It's because the government put in this coronavirus pandemic, and they were like, hey, airlines, we're totally gonna screw you up. You're not gonna make any profits, but what we're gonna do for you is we're gonna give you billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money. That way your company can sustain. Similar to how they did it was the bailout for the auto industry in 2008, and then like 2011 was like the Freddie Fannie Mac bailout, the housing bubble bailout. That's what it was. Now we're gonna bail out every industry that's affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus. Remember back when President George W. Bush gave that little $500? I remember that. I was like, I think that was like 2006 or something.
Yep.
Yeah, we got that little $500 from President Bush, and then we got a little $1,200 from Donald Trump. Now it's very strange to me that the Conservative Party would be handing out bailouts, but conservatives not conservative anymore. Just wait. Next thing you know, they'll be bailing out Big Pharma and Big Oil, because Big Pharma and Big Oil need money too. Finally tearing down my middle school. I went there in 8th grade for a few months when we moved here. But that middle school, Dixon Middle, was built in like the 1950s, I believe. And it's been used as a middle school all the way up until, I think it was like 2018 is when they moved all the students over to the new middle school, which is actually larger than the high school in the area. I don't know why they did that, but the middle school actually needed an upgrade more than the high school because, like I said, it's from the 50s. So they had said they were going to expand the high school. I guess now they're just going to tear it down, and I don't even know if they have any plans. Nobody's said anything about any plans. It's bound to take your life. Hey, there's a bathroom on the right. Police are up here. Hey, that's Mike Jones. Oh, those boots are in trouble now.
Sure.
Who? Mike Jones! So I'm up early this morning not to go surfing. Maybe I'll help somebody out with some construction type work. So good morning, people. Here in Jacksonville, working on some mess. These people's sink leaked under their cabinets, and it's got the floor all rotted, and the floor joists all mushy, and there's water underneath the house, and it's a lot of stuff. But just about done tearing stuff apart, so work on fixing it later. Should have stayed up. Shouldn't have stayed up so late. Last night I was up till around 2. I got up at 7:30. I don't really know what we're doing. I thought we were gonna go get some supplies, help Lowe's or something. Maybe something to eat. here at the Lowe's.
Until you got flagged. Get fired.
I need a flagger.
Gotta have a flag.
Man, I drove one of them things before. I never had a flag, man.
You would take
No, I was at Steve Weekman's pallet shop. Seriously been at Lowe's for like an hour and a half now. There's one right here too. Look at this thing. Yeah, on the ground.
What, another motorcycle?
Yeah.
Wow, there's two people over there laid out.
Whoa. Somebody is in bad shape.
Serious. That's a lot of motorcycles there too.